So that was the top three, the standard top three, but in a different order. Behind that, some more good drives. Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, one stopping, made it work. 34 laps on a set of hard tyres. Really impressive, and he had good pace to the end. So again, another really impressive drive for Leclerc.
B4, slow button.
Yes, sir! Ah, yes! Blood C, baby! Oh yes, I'm so happy, so happy.
But for his teammate on the other side of the garage, not so good. A mess of a race, and it all started at the first corner for Sebastian Vettel. He actually gets a good start on hard tyres that Ferrari chose because he didn't make Q3, he had a free choice. And he's on the hards, and he's up the inside of Alex Albon. We've got a fast-starting Lando Norris trying to pass Charles Leclerc ahead. Now Leclerc gets a bit caught out at turn one and has a lock-up, just panic braking really. He thinks he's going to run into the McLaren probably. But if I pause it right on the apex, look where Vettel is. His front right tyre is actually more than on the apex. It's actually on the grass on the inside of the corner. But Vettel's clearly taken a little bit too much. And then he gets right up to the red sausage curbs as well. Here, he tries to get back on the power and then ultimately loses it. Big slide. He's on the hard tyres, maybe struggling slightly more for warm-up. But it's quite a big elementary error really, this one for Vettel in the end. He's just got on the throttle with a load of steering lock having come off the grass slightly. And he's so close to wiping out Carlos Sainz as well. And then the others coming through the first corner when he rejoins. If we look on the outboard from above, we can see also the line of other people through the corner. So look, Verstappen in third and Hamilton just ahead as well, right on that apex as well, right on the cusp of the dirt. But Vettel, when I pause it there, he is just that little bit more on the inside, kicking up the dirt, and potentially that unsettled it. It actually looked like the car stabilised when he then got on the throttle. But with Seb coming off the dirt, slightly bigger hit of the curb, probably did unsettle the car more. Then he's gone on throttle, and then he's lost it and spun to the back. But having said all that, not a great mistake from Vettel at the start. But he was on a good recovery drive actually, and the Ferrari was also quite kind on its tyres at Silverstone, and Vettel's charging now to try and get some points back in this race. And he's doing an okay job of it. He's not far behind Esteban Ocon. So they pitted Charles Leclerc, and then a few laps later he's coming up behind Sebastian Vettel, when on lap 22 his team tell him to pit. This is where the tensions start then, because Vettel's ticking along nicely on a hard tyre. He's running behind Esteban Ocon, who hasn't pitted yet on a medium tyre that he started on. And he's in clear air, basically, up in the top 10. And now he's able to just extend that stint and maybe, like his teammate, do a one-stopper. But the team ask him to pit. Vettel gets on the radio and says, there's life in these tyres, I don't think we should. The team say, no, box, and Vettel pits. Now, from a driver's point of view, you really have to listen to your team. They've got all the information in front of them. They can see where you're going to drop into when you take your 20 seconds out of pit stop. They know who you're racing. They can work out your strategy better than the driver can when he's driving around at 200 mile an hour with no information apart from what he can see ahead and a little bit behind. So you have to trust the team. But here, the team weren't really doing a great job for Sebastian Vettel. Then they pitted Vettel from a hard tyre onto a hard tyre as well, which meant he had no chance of doing a one-stop. He wouldn't have done anyway, really, from pitting so early as lap 22. But oddly, then just did another short stint, 11 laps on the hard tyre, before doing a mammoth stint on the medium to the end. Vettel's strategy made no sense. He came on the radio clearly thinking it made no sense as well, and he was right.
At least the gap that we didn't like, we spoke about it this morning. I'll hang in there, but you know that you messed up.
It did seem like in this race, Vettel was an afterthought for Ferrari. It was all about maximising Leclerc's race, which they did. But Vettel, yes, he made a mistake at the first corner, which Mattia Binotto was quick to point out afterwards. But he could have had some points. He was running with Esteban Ocon, who won stop to 9th place. He could have been in that fight. Instead, pitting when he probably didn't need to so early. He could have gone on to lap 30, lap 32 on the hard tyres, done a one stop, picked up some reasonable points still and salvaged a race. So tension's really mounting between Vettel's side of the garage, Sebastian Vettel really, Mattia Binotto, the team boss. Vettel's leaving the team at the end of the year, and it's starting to get needly towards toxic, really. We've had last week where Leclerc was on the podium, outqualified Vettel by nearly a second, and Sebastian was saying, I think there might be something wrong with the car. Again, after the race, he didn't say they didn't think there was anything wrong with the car, and you could sort of sense from that maybe he still thinks there is. And I'm sure Ferrari will help him to try and do the most they can. It's still in their interest that he scores points, because at the moment it's just Leclerc carrying that team. They're third in the constructors because Leclerc's got 2 podiums in a 4th place in what is actually a very average car. I'm sure Ferrari want Vettel to be better, but in this race they didn't help him out too much. So that was a look at Ferrari's race, but for more on how the top 3 played out, Verstappen's first win of the season, and lots more action in the midfield, check it out on F1 TV.